Welcome back. Episode 16, When the Therapist Needs Healing Too. Decolonizing the Myth of the Untouchable Clinician. I am your host, Tracy Gantlin-Monroy, licensed professional counselor, healer, and the first Black female brain spotting trainer in the world. Today, I want to talk about a myth that has shaped our field for far too long. Far too long, right? That myth of the untouchable clinician. The idea that once you're licensed, once you've got the degree and the title, you're immune. Immune to pain, immune to burnout, immune to needing healing yourself. But here's the truth. Therapists need healing too. And the cost of not doing our work as clinicians is far greater than we admit and oftentimes recognize. Colleagues, let's do our work. Healers, community workers, we pick up way too much and place our hands in too many spaces not to do our work. We deserve healing too. Beyond the Spot, Decolonizing Healing One Brain at a Time is a podcast that weaves, my first love, of course, brain spotting, and somatic informed modalities with embodied healing, cultural consciousness, and real talk about trauma, resilience, and recovery. Hosted by Tracy Gantlin-Monroy, a licensed professional counselor, spiritual healer, and the first Black female brain spotting trainer in the world. Each episode dares to dismantle mental health myths, uplift lived experiences, and restore collective wisdom. One conversation at a time. Beyond the Spot podcast is for educational purposes and is not therapy. Please reach out to licensed medical and mental health professionals. Thank you. Our field in psychotherapy, psychology, analytic, all the things, even when you go back to the history, there has been the history of neglect in mental health. From the very beginning, our field was built on self-denial, where women were called hysterical. Nonetheless, Freud called for the analyst to be a blank slate, objective, detached, untouched. Medicine and social work reinforce the same ethic, or I'd like to say edict. Anywho, the helper sacrifices themselves for others. Self-care wasn't just missing, it was seen as selfish. Now, let's even bring more color to it, as I would say. How about when we talk about BIPOC clinicians? The burden has always been heavier. We weren't just asked to be blank slates. We were asked to be flawless. And I'm not saying that anybody directly came to us and said, okay, you be flawless, but from an ideological construct and perspective, like to be a person of color in professional environments, the one thing you recognize real quick, number one, you're the minority in that space as well. And you've been taught from home, especially those of you who are Black, brown, first, American type families, first generation immigrants, and things of that nature. So, how does that resonate for you, for me to even say it? How about some of these stereotypical tropes? Strong Black women who never break. Or how about model minorities who never complain? Cultural representatives proving our legitimacy in white dominated systems. And even this idea of, for white clinicians, neutrality became a shield. It was permission to avoid naming race, privilege, or power. Because when you start speaking about those things, somehow that has been labeled as aggressive. There was a day and time that I wouldn't even have the opportunity to speak so candidly. The world has changed, you all. And let me be clear around that. We've got to have the conversations. If not now, when? Okay? And just an invitation to reflection. Clinicians, what messages did you inherit about your worth being tied to fixing others? Right? Because the more we are different, we're actually alike, right? And we do come with our own identifying locations, identities, contexts, engagement, placement in society, and all the things, okay? And I'm curious from a client perspective, just invitation to reflect. How did it feel when your therapist exhaustion or silenced shaped your healing space? How much safety did you feel to be the authenticity of yourself? Okay? Because here's the reality, y'all. There is a cost of us not doing our work. Unhealed wounds don't stay hidden, they leak. How about rushing grief because our own grief feels unbearable? Silencing anger because anger was unsafe in our own families? Over functioning to fix clients because our self worth depends on being needed? When we as clinicians don't do our work, clients pay the cost. They feel it in the silence that hides, not holds. They feel it in the rush to move past pain. They feel it in the judgment that belongs to our history, not theirs. And for communities of color, this is not new. It's history repeating itself inside the therapy room. There's always a cost for us all, even in oppressive systems when we think we have privilege and domination. That doesn't exist. We are all sharing an experience right now. And for anybody hiding under the rock or anyone who's playing sleep, I'm going to need you to wake up. Real talk. Because there's a personal cost for every clinician. How about burnout, compassion fatigue, depression, living in survival mode, just for a few? And even when we look at the relational cost, the client feels unseen, mislabeled, or even re traumatized. There are studies that speak to what I'm saying. And there's also a systemic cost. It becomes oppression, reproduced in the very spaces meant for healing. Just an invitation, because I'm going to always invite you to reflect, because I know that I'm putting voice and naming stuff many folks have not ever had to face. But this is the time, I promise. Clinicians, what cost are your clients paying for the work you've avoided? And clients, how do you know when your therapist's unspoken pain is shaping your session? We have got to have the challenging conversations. As a mental health clinician, I'm going to just tell the truth, right? Because that's what I do. I'm a truth teller. I'm going to keep it real. When I'm engaging with people personally for the first time, I might say to them, look, as a licensed professional counselor, as a psychotherapist, I am going to do my best to self monitor, engage myself, because my boundaries around exploration and conversation might feel a little jarring or off putting in your system. But my work really gives me poor boundaries limits around what conversation is appropriate or not. You see, because as a minister and as a therapist, just know people bring us conversations they don't have in their everyday real life. And if your clients and your patients are not bringing you those conversations and dialogues, I got to invite you to check in with yourself, to check your system, and what kind of space are you co creating? Who are you taking into that session? We show up in every session. And so when I'm new to people and we become a little bit personal or intimate and our relationship starts to grow and blossom, I'm like, hey, girl, listen. I'm a therapist, and the work I do is highly embodied. And in sessions, I don't know if you've ever had therapy, but we can kind of go from anywhere really fast. And so it's not my intention. I be trying to take off my therapist cap, but sometimes that thing just gets stuck on. And even when she's off, she just shows up in the midst of stuff. But for real, over many years, I've been doing that work, honestly, because I don't want to be a clinician 24/7. That is not my life. That is not, listen, I got a real personal life. I don't expect to work 24/7. And quite frankly, when I have people that try to engage me in intimate relationship through friendship and things of that nature, and where they just try to keep copping sessions on my personal time, and I don't have your insurance information to fill out a claim or self pay, like, listen, I don't do therapy with my friends. It's unethical, nor am I interested. I need my space with my family and my friends to be personal space, that I don't have to wear this hat because Tracy don't hide behind her work. Nope. She embodies all of her all the time. Okay? I just want to say that for the record, I don't do it. Nope, not interested. Nonetheless, there is this notion of the cultural weight of healing, especially for clinicians of color. The myth of the untouchable healer means carrying double. We are therapists and cultural translators. We hold collective trauma while proving we belong in spaces not built for us. Can I get an amen or an ashe? Anybody know what I'm talking about here? I'm just saying, people go to work every day and code switch to be acceptable in that space to keep their jobs. Listen, this even covers marginalized persons, people that are heteropassing, because they have to be, because there's no tolerance at their job or in the workspace for them to be open about how they identify. I could go on and on about this. I'm just saying. And even for white clinicians, the myth of neutrality has often meant complicity, staying silent on race, identity, and systemic harm. Okay? And let me say this. If you are a dominant, cultured, normative white clinician listening, this is where co conspiracy matters. Doing your own work means more than therapy for your personal wounds. It means facing the privilege, the silence, and the blind spots that shape your practice, your orientation. And just an invitation here for all clinicians. What burdens have you normalized as just part of the job? Where has neutrality allowed you to avoid the hard work of showing up differently? And I got to tell you, for many of us BIPOC clients, neutrality is a thing as well, because let's be clear, I don't know of any licensed clinician making $30 an hour. I'm going to just say what it is. And so sometimes, even socioeconomically, it places you in a group of differentiation. And even when it comes to that sense of connection and what that looks like. And I'm going to just say this and be real clear about it as a woman of color. I know way too many persons of color that do well socioeconomically, whether it be by their profession or whatever the variables are, that think that that supersedes how the ocular assessment would track them. And they don't want to be bothered. They want to outrun their Black selves, their Latino selves, Latin American selves. They want to outrun their Asian selves. They want to outrun their Indian selves, their Native American or their Egyptian self. You can't outrun that, okay? Because for so many of you right now, even immigrants in your own communities where you come from at the root, you all picked up this white adjacent stuff and you messing around and you finding out. I'm just saying. And it's not pretty. It's dispelling the myth that many folks thought that they had privilege that they just don't. Okay? So just know that there is this idea of the cultural weight of healing. And I'm not mocking that. I'm just putting it right where it is. And the reality is there is a such thing as healing the healer, y'all. Healing doesn't disqualify the therapist, the healer, none of us. Healing equips the therapist and community workers. And yeah, it does. Let me tell you something. I have sat in way too many brain spotting sessions for myself and with clients. I felt the shift, not only for me, but for my clients and patients. Because when I am grounded, regulated, resonant, the container is safer because there is no totally safe space. Healing myself is not indulgence, it's actually integrity. Uh huh. Clients can feel and know the difference. They feel when the silence in the room is steady, not shaky. They feel when the therapist is fully present, not distracted by their own unspoken, untended wounds. And I really need for you all to hear that because there's somebody out here that thinks that they're flying under the radar. I got news for you. You're not. Clinicians, where do you still need tending? And clients, what would it mean to seek therapists who are practicing their own healing and not hiding from it? I mean, that's a big one, y'all. And the wonderful thing about brain spotting that I absolutely adore is that brain spotting is also about healing the healer. Listen, I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face. I literally received a huge healing while in a brain spotting training, and it was amazing. Yeah. And so Brain spotting is for the clinician's nervous system as well. Listen, this is how I got here. Let me just keep it 100 with y'all. I even had a witness to that healing, my brain spotting wife, Aletha. She was like, "What is that white boy doing to you?" I was like, "Girl, stop tripping." She says, "You were boo-hooing." Man, that thing came up from the soul. I literally had to call my mom and say, "Mom, what the hell was that?" I'm talking about from in utero to preverbal and beyond. And my mom told me, listen, I don't know of anyone I respect more than my mother. Real talk. She's some kind of a gal. My mom, Fernell Gantlin, oh yeah, she's easily a woman's woman. And I am proud, grateful, and humbled to call her mama. Just know that. Yeah, for sure. Brain spotting is not just for clients. It's for us too. It truly helps us notice when we brace, when our gaze when it drifts. That's that limbic countertransference, y'all, when survival mode still runs the show. We got to notice that so we can work ourselves back into the tail of the comet. When we face our own nervous system, we stop asking clients to carry what is ours. Yeah, reflective invitation here. What would change if you treated your nervous system with the same care you offer others, that you offer your clients, that you offer your patients? And for clients, how does your body respond when you sit with someone who feels truly present? Because it's noticeable. I mean, just think about the people you prefer being with and spending your time with. What do you think that's about? The cost of not doing our work as clinicians is too high and unnecessary. It burns us out. It burdens our clients, and we're supposed to be supporting their unburdening. It reproduces oppression in spaces that should be liberating. But when we tend to our wounds, when we honor our nervous systems, when we reclaim healing as a shared responsibility, absolutely everything changes. Facts. Lean into that. Yeah. And I just have some curiosities, and I want to invite you all to lean in and share them with me. To the clinicians of color, what weight are you carrying that was never yours alone to bear? And how about dominant cultured white clinicians? How can you move from neutrality to co-conspiracy, both in your body and your practice? And to our beloved clients, what signs tell you your clinician, healer, supporters are grounded? And what signs tell you they are not? Because when the therapist heals, the space heals. And when the space heals, the client heals too. Thank you all for spending this time with me. There is nothing more I would rather be doing in this moment. I am Tracy Gantlin-Monroy. Thank you for being here in this space. Please share, like, comment, and subscribe. Have an amazing remainder of your day. Until we meet again. If today's episode resonated with your nervous system or your spirit, share it with someone who's still unlearning and reach out to me. My website is gracecommunitycounseling.com. You can reach me on Instagram at Monroy LPC. That is MONROY LPC. Also, I have offerings from retreats to brain spotting trainings to workshops, you name it. And I am also a speaker. So if you ever need a speaker with my skill set, look me up. Give me a call. Let's see what can happen. And absolutely for you clinicians and adjacent body healers, feel free to reach out and attend a brain spotting training. We have trainings all the time. Thank you.